Hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in to race number 5 of the MSCA Quaker State Late Model Series here at Winston Speedway. Here's the starting lineups for heat number 1. Jack Porkin's going to start on the inside, row 1. He's going to be on the pole. Alex Tanker to his outside. Eric Willis, Dejan Weeks going to make up row number 2. Jake Rogers on the inside of row 3. Outside of row 3 will be the 13B of Tanya Brader. 2 winners in the series. Eric Hayden is going to be row number 4 inside. Chris Dodd is going to be on the outside of row number 4. Cody Smart, row number 5 inside. Kyle Maxwell is going to be outside row number 5. Mike Serra is going to be in row 6 inside. On his outside is going to be the 21E of Patrick Curtis. Daniel Maxwell starting inside row 7, and on his outside will be the 5 of Joshua Jones. And finally, rounding out your field for heat number 1, Callum Wood. Now, a few drivers who we've seen probably will make it into the feature event. So, let's see what happens here in heat number 1. Jack Porkin's leading him down to the stripe. Green flag is out, and we are underway here for heat number 1. Porkins on the inside of row 1, gonna take the almost gonna take the lead from Alex Tanker, but Tanker's still holding in there. Now Porkins has him cleared, and now Tanker's got to deal with Eric Willis in the 604. Porkins, we've seen him do really well in the heat races, not too well in the features. I don't know if it's just the changing track conditions that he's just not keeping up with them very well, or if it's just other people being able to go out in the LCS and do a little bit better because they know kind of what the track is done and they can feel it out a bit more. But everything's kind of starting to string out a little bit. Porkin's currently in the lead. Second is Eric Willis. Third is Alex Tanker. Fourth is Jake Rogers. And in that almighty 5th spot is Eric Hayden in the 62V. And that's where you want to be in the heat races, because if you're not in the 5th spot where Eric Hayden is currently sitting, you're not gonna make it into the feature race from your heat. And the LCS is very forgiving to a lot of drivers, because 10 drivers make it from the LCS as compared to this race where only 5 drivers make it into the LCS and 10 make it into the feature, and 10 go to the LCS. And so this is really kind of the pick-me-up race, you could say. So far, everything really hasn't changed very much. You can see Mike Serra trying to get by the 2 of Cody Smart. Those 2 master-built chassis cars are trying to fight their way into the feature through their heat race, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to do much about it, as everything is just kind of been stagnant since the start of the race. The 62V car looks like he's gonna be able to sit it out in 5th spot. As we can see, Eric Willis trying to make a move on Porkins, but that's not going to be enough. Porkins wins the heat, and Hayden will take out the 5th spot. So here are your featured transfers: Jack Porkins, Eric Willis, Alex Tanker, Jake Rogers, and Eric Hayden. They will all transfer on to the feature event through their heat race for being in the top 5. Here's heat race number 2 now. Bob Schopke is going to be on the pole for this one. Henrietta Fitzwater is going to be to his outside. Gabriel Wanderley is going to be in the row 2 inside position. JT Hanley, row 2 outside. Kyle Collins, row 3 inside. TJ Hanley, row 3 outside. Nick Pericles is going to be the inside row 4, and Zachary Fitzwater is going to be the outside of row 4. Lucas Tran. And there seems to be a pattern here. GRTs and Rockets all the way through row 5. Lucas Tran inside, Sam Rogers outside, but the trend stops here with Roy Bruce on the inside and the Rocket in the Rocket chassis for Hanley Racing. Carson Scott on the outside in his Masterbuilt. Ferdinand Gabat inside row 7. Matthew Brown is going to be on the outside of row number 7. And finally, rounding out your field will be the G5 of Brock McMahon. Here we go. Bob Schopke leading him down. DW Motorsports power under that 334 car, and he rockets out to the field. Even though he is in a GRT, he's not in a rocket. The rockets are all on the outside line. But he pulls away from the field almost immediately, and it's kind of I don't know if Henrietta just didn't time the start correctly, or Schopke just had a really good start, but the 334 car blasting out into the front of the field. Here's the race for 5th, Nick Pericles versus JT Hanley. Both of those drivers. Well, one of those drivers really needs a good finish today, because he's down in the low. He's down in the high 20s. But already Nick Pericles under fire from the 4 of Lucas Tran. Tran is probably the most consistent DW Motorsports car out there. He is currently, I believe, the I don't believe he's the points leader. I believe he's in 2nd or 3rd. I think Roy Bruce is the points leader at the moment. But something odd that we're seeing right now, Roy Bruce has not made very many gains so far in his heat race, so we're going to have to see if there's anything going on with that car. Henrietta Fitzwater currently holding 5th. Behind her is her husband, of Zachary Fitzwater. This looks like it's going to be pretty interesting to see. Looks like family infighting on the racetrack going on. Zachary diving down low. Henrietta up high. Doesn't look like Zach's going to get the line, but now he gets the line into turn 2, but Henrietta powers her way on the outside. Zachary Fitzwater, but coming back on the corners, and Henrietta still powering away on the outside of the straightaways, but Zachary looks like he's going to be able to get her. And it is a drag race between those two. White flag is waving. Zachary looks like he's going to clear Henrietta for the 5th spot. And that's an interesting battle that we haven't seen yet. But Bob Schopke gonna bring it home, and Zachary Fitzwater gonna finish in the 5th spot to round out your top 5 here for heat number 2. Bob Schopke, Kyle Collins, Gabriel Wanderley, Lucas Tran, and Zachary Fitzwater all make it into the feature event through their heat race. Now time for the last chance showdown. Your lineup's going to be Nick Pericles, row 1 inside. Outside is JT Hanley. TJ Hanley is going to be on the inside of row 2 with Dejan Weeks to his outside. Chris Dodd in row number 3 inside with Henrietta Fitzwater to his outside. Carson Scott in row number 4 with Cody Smart to his outside. Row 5, Kyle Maxwell and Roy Bruce. Row 6, Sam Rogers and Tanya Brayer going to be rounding out that row. Ferdinand Gavat, Patrick Curtis are going to be sitting on row number 7. Mike Serra, Brock McMahon. They didn't have a very good heat race. Well, Mike Serra almost made it into the feature through his heat, but that's going to be row number 8. Matthew Brown, Callum Wood going to sit there in row number 9. And finally, to round out your field, the 5 of Joshua Jones and the 12 of Daniel Maxwell will finish out your field here for the last chance showdown. Pericles leading them down. Green flag is out for the last chance showdown. This is the, as the name says, the last chance for you to get into the feature event. 31 of Nick Pericles fighting for the lead with JT Hanley in the 80 car. But Pericles has the easier line to go through, and he's going to take the lead very easily from JT. Looking a little bit further on back, JT Hanley, TJ Hanley, and Chris Dodd. Chris Dodd is the owner of the 31 car, and he's going to be battling with TJ Hanley for the 3rd spot, and he's just trying to get a little bit of a, I guess, a little bit better position. Keep yourself away from that 10th spot, because the 10th spot is very hard to hold on a lot of racetracks, because a lot of cars are trying to fight for that position, and you, if you get caught out, can really lose a lot of it. Chris Dodd, though, not had the best of seasons what we expected, but doing well here. Carson Scott in the 25 car, very silent under the radar, but he's also been having a fairly decent season. Tanya Brayer, one of the current feature winners so far. Kind of an up and down for her. She's missed a few features, but at least she's made up the points by finishing well in the features that she has made, especially with the one win that she has. So Tanya Breyer, definitely a force to look out for when she's in the feature, but sometimes she just doesn't have the speed available to her to get into the feature event. Currently holding, I believe, 9th position now. Joshua Jones, I believe Kyle Maxwell, fighting with Henrietta Fitzwater for 10th. Henrietta in the 43 car, trying to make the feature event after losing it to her husband Zachary in the heat race. So she's got to go through the last chance showdown. Not doing too bad though, sitting in the 10th spot, which is kind of a bad deal for her, but it's better than sitting in the 11th spot, not being able to make the feature. But sitting in 11th is Mike Serra in the 24Y. Serra wanting to get another feature win, just make another feature, and he's currently sitting back in the 11th spot. I was going to say 13th, but that's not true. One driver that we're kind of surprised about right now, Roy Bruce, sitting back in, I believe, 15th at the moment. He has not made a lot of gains so far, and looks to be falling back. It looks like Joshua Jones is going to try and take the inside lane away from him, but Roy Bruce has been falling back hard this entire race, so this may be the first feature we see that Roy Bruce is not a part of, and that could be really detrimental to his points lead, especially since Lucas Tran is also in the feature event. Tanya Breyer, however, currently sitting in 10th. Mike Serra trying to badger the back end of that 13B car. But Breyer doesn't want to hold up. She wants to keep that car going as fast as it possibly can. As you can see drivers up at the a bit further up, Dejan Weeks and Ferdinand Gabat fighting for position. I believe that would be the 7th position. But Breyer just trying to keep the 24Y car from getting to her inside, and currently she's doing a good job about it. The 24Y has not really made a lot of gains on her, but at the same time looks like she's trying to get to the inside of Henrietta Fitzwater in the 43 car. Her 13B really looks like she's trying to pick up the pace now, but Sarah in the 24 looks like he's going to also try and take over. That could be actually a problem with what Breyer's doing, because she might be letting the 24Y gain a little bit of ground onto her. Dejan Weeks currently, white flag is out. Nick Pericles has not moved since he has gained the lead up at the front of the field. No one's going to be able to catch the 31 car, and he's going to power across the line. He will win the last chance showdown. Tanya Breyer not going to be contested by Mike Serra. She will finish off in the 10th spot. Here are your top 10. These are the drivers that are going to be transferring. Nick Pericles in the 1st spot, JT Hanley in 2nd, Carson Scott in 3rd, Chris Dodd in 4th, TJ Hanley 5th, 6th is Sam Rogers, 7th is Ferdinand, 7th is actually Dejan Weeks. Ferdinand Gabat finished 8th behind Dejan Weeks. 9th will be the 43 of Henrietta Fitzwater, and finally rounding out your top 10 for the drivers going to be transferring to the feature event will be the 13B of Tanya Breyer. Here's the final 10 drivers. These are the ones that will not be making it into the feature race and will have to either watch the race or just go home. The 24Y of Mike Serra came close, finished behind the line both times in 6th and 11th. Daniel Maxwell is going to be finishing 12th. Kyle Maxwell, his brother, going to be finishing right behind him. Matthew Brown finishing in a 14th position. Brock McMahon in the G5 going to be finishing 15th. Cody Smart, very uncharacteristic. He's usually fighting for the position for the transfer, but he's going to be finishing in 16th. 17th, Patrick Curtis. Joshua Jones, 18th. Roy Bruce, sad to see him not make it in 19th, and Callum Wood going to finish it out. This has been the Heats and Last Chance Showdown. Thank you guys for watching. Features up next.